we realized deploying and committing to still cutting edge technology is also putting you on the bleeding edge of potentially endangering your business.
So we have to talk about why we're sitting here instead of the other bench.
Well, because it's summertime in the Okanagan and we batch record these, and there's a family having fun at the park right now at our typical
Damn them.
bench. Yeah, man, how could you come out and enjoy?
They're not even sitting at the table. They're just around it.
Yeah, they've got their picnic stuff up there. But you're not here, and we're not here to talk about why we couldn't get our favorite bench. We got another one, and this is actually a prime example of when to pivot and to know to have extra tools, and in this case, extra benches on your favorite scene. There's a bit of an elephant in the room when we think about AI, and it's called Fable 5. It came out rushing out to everybody that had a Claude subscription, and the demos were flying, and then the US government turned it off within 4 days. Today, we actually want to talk about why you shouldn't necessarily rely on just one tech stack and some of the challenges that we've actually experienced lately using Claude and being overcommitted to one tool trying to solve a whole bunch of problems. So, Shane.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're going to not talk a lot about Fable 5. There isn't much out there anymore because of, it happened so quickly. There's a lot of politics and political stuff, but that's a different story. There's no connection to that whatsoever.
No, they're very separate things, not related at all. Nobody was pissy.
But I think for many of us who got on the Claude bandwagon, we did so with Sonnet.
Yeah.
And then Opus came out, and Opus was like, wow, it's really great, but it's expensive. Got to watch out. It's going to churn through your tokens. And I'll be honest, as a non-coding user of Claude, I had never hit a usage limit until I went to Opus. And interestingly enough, now that Fable came out, Opus now seems like it's Sonnet.
Let's talk about some of the challenges that we were already talking about. Is before Fable came out, we'd noticed that the results coming out of Sonnet and even Opus seemed like the platform had gone backwards. And usually to me, that's an indication that something with more compute is about to come online. And it was something we noticed because, like Shane says, we don't do a ton of coding with the platforms. We're more focused on the processes and analyzing content and data and just recognizing that the results were actually kind of coming back as a step backwards from where they were the month before.
Yeah, I started really getting annoyed by the way it was creating content. And it seemed like it was taking a page out of crappy LinkedIn AI. The type of blogs where they have the headline that you see is, it's got a secret. It's going to surprise you. You're going to oh, you don't know this is going to happen. And every single line seemed to have something along the lines of, yeah, the pain is real, : oh, what's the pain? Okay, there it is. And oh no, and it just drove me crazy. And then, and of course, the way that all the language is organized to such a point now that when I take some content that's created and put it into a different tool like Codex, like Gemini, it does a really good job of cleaning it up. And so that tells me, maybe there's a shift happening back.
Yeah. Well, as well, it's interesting because I genuinely really think, just kidding. We are still such early days to be locking down to a single thing. And now, not everybody is advanced with using AI, and not everybody is actually even using AI. We've had clients that actually have told us they haven't even turned ChatGPT on before, right? So when we're talking about what we're doing, we understand that even though we're not in the coding world, we're still part of a very small 1 or 2% of power users that are using these things. We realized deploying and committing to still cutting edge technology is also putting you on the bleeding edge of potentially endangering your business. I think about it from a perspective of just hearing that, a month ago where Shane had built skills in Claude to help him with some of the writing that we were doing and going through and processing our transcripts, that all of a sudden, even though we've built custom skills to say, this is how this is supposed to sound, it's still breaking out of that and coming up with quote unquote AI slop.
Yeah. And to build on that, I actually thought, hey, maybe it's my skill. Maybe it's the thing I wrote to say, don't write this. I took out all the writing stuff so that it would make sure there was like, you're getting bare bones. This is what it looks like out of the package. And it just kept doing it. So, and then I find it even forgets in the thread. And so I will find myself, because I was doing this with ChatGPT all the time, like, hey, stop doing it this way. Just give me it straight up. I don't want any fluff around it. And it seems to start going back to it. One of the key ones that I find frustrating is that you ask it, for example, I want you to ask me one question at a time. There's some good reasons for this. One, as humans, we're not computers, and me getting a list of 5 things to answer, I will probably pay attention to 2 or 3 of them, but not give good answers on all 5. Plus, one of the great things about AI is shouldn't forget the questions it wanted to ask, but it can dive deeper into a rabbit hole if you answer it some way, away, and it's always, I have got additional questions based on that question or your answer. And I thought that's always been one of the key things, the strengths for me is that, okay, it's asking me things that, prompting me to get more out of my head than I would do on my own or with another writing partner. It's even forgetting that. You'll like ask it to stop doing that, and 2 or 3 minutes later, there's 2 or more questions, 2 or 3 more questions.
Yeah. And what we've noticed is, going back and using Codex and GPT-5, that those problems are on the previous versions of GPT are now addressed and fixed. And so being able to actually manage our workflow so that we can jump between the right tool to answer the right question is actually quite useful. And again, it just hammering back home is we are still in such early stages with all these technologies, is that if you're using them, you're adapting adaptability at a level of kind of tool spread, even though a lot of the work that we work with our clients on is reducing tool spread. In this case, there's value in knowing which one of these thought partners and development partners does the right things in the right places. And also, how are you setting up to check in back on them and keeping the human in the loop? Because sometimes an update will come and you won't even know that the platform is either restricted on resources, a new model is coming out, or some other small, minute change is then now impacting your entire experience with that tool. It's an interesting wild, wild west quagmire that is yet to be resolved. So we're still living in a wonderful world of chaos, which is great if you're a chaos tamer, but it is also a liability within the business. Don't use that as a reason not to be experimenting and using these tools and getting used to them. They are going to continue to change and evolve, and you must as well. Be the fear that helps you understand and catalog the risks that are already in your business and adding that onto it. Shane, from all this, what's your kind of takeaway?
I think we already touched on it. Use more than one tool. Secondary to that is don't be caught up in this next-ish, whatever the habit of saying, okay, well, that's the new thing. I got to use that now. We were perfectly happy with Sonnet when it came out. It was like, oh, this is the new and shiny. And it was replacing, I forget what was before, but something.
Haiku, I think.
Haiku, that's right. And that, we were already excited about that one. I used ChatGPT 3 for a long time going, this is going to change the world. And then 4 came out, now 5, now 5.5, then 5.6. Like, you have to realize that you don't need to stay on the bleeding edge to be successful with the work you're doing. That bleeding edge is expensive as well. This technology is changing so fast. Be happy with the technology tool you're using now. Stick with it for a little bit longer. You don't need to be on the bleeding edge. Maybe
it should at least be on the
edge. Try new things, but you don't have to really jump out in front of the car every single time they release a new version.
Love it.
I love where we landed with this version, this episode of The Bench. Anyways,
It's so bright outside.
it is so very bright outside. All right, well, thank you for watching, and let's play the outro.